Hello, everybody, the One Rental at a Time family and community. I am Casey with Brick by Brick Wealth, and we're here with Dion Talk Financial Freedom. And today I want to talk about something, you guys. I found myself on Reddit. I'm like, oh, am I on Reddit? And of course, it was a screenshot of, I was on vacation and saying, oh, look, I got this rental income while I'm sitting at the beach, come on, social media. And I got all these hate comments on there and die, drown, drown, drown. And, it reminds me that every time I get any sort of social media post or anything that does even significantly well, it's landlords are scum. Landlords are greedy. Capitalism is terrible. You're taking all the affordable housing. Landlords are terrible. No one should own rental properties, blah, blah, blah. So I want to talk with Dion and see, what is his take? Does he get these hate comments too? And does he get all these things in his, YouTube feed? And what do landlords really do? So everyone out there that says we're scum, I'd like to set the record straight on why we do what we do. Yes, it's for money, but it's also for other things. And we're going to talk about what those are and how we really are helping the community and helping the country more than being leeches. So, Dion, I'll let you start.
Well, it seems like I keep picking careers that make people hate me. Right? I worked in law enforcement for 8 years after getting out of the Marine Corps. And when I stopped doing that because of the 2008 housing recession, I figured I wasn't hated enough. Let me go become a landlord. And when I did this, I developed a strategy that gets my tenants to ask me to raise the rent. And Business Insider did an article on this. And if you've ever been interviewed by Business Insider, and they go more forensic on your finances than a lender does. They literally looked at all of the detail, all of the leases, all of the mortgages, everything to figure out if they're going to talk about your story, they want to make sure that they have accurate data. So I shared my information on trying to get people to understand that with the binder strategy, you can have happy tenants, and happy tenants don't trash your property, and happy tenants don't leave, even if the tenants asked you to raise the rent. And so it was a pretty good article. It shared the binder strategy with more people, but there is an anti-work group in Reddit where there are thousands of posts. And I actually kind of want to reach out to some of these people and say that they should become a writer because they're very creative in all of the ways I should delete myself, just like the hate comments that you got. I tried to interact with a few, right? It wasn't very productive. And I said, well, if you don't have landlords, what's the solution? That's the thing I haven't heard yet. And there is, and we're on One Rental at a Time, so I don't want to be political and get Michael's channel demonetized, but you can be a socialist in a capitalist society. You can't be a capitalist in a socialist society. So we have a capitalist society, and we have a lot of socialists living here, where you see end rent now. There's another couple of quotes that go around where it's basically that we want nationwide rent control. We want all of these tenant protection rights. The less landlords you have, where's the housing going to come from? That's my question. I'll ask it to anybody who just hates landlords because landlords are scum. If you saw the title and you clicked on it because you agreed, this is your chance to put in the comments, why do you think that? I understand that there might be some bad apples, but if you have people waiting with Section 8 vouchers that just don't have a place that the government will pay for them to take, but there's not enough units for those people to move into. And the only way that those units exist are when people like Millennial Mike invest in Gary, Indiana, buys a house, pays cash, puts $30,000 to $50,000 in it to fix it up, and then puts it onto the voucher program so that the government, in the socialist society that you want, will pay for somebody to live in that house. If Mike doesn't fix the house, they don't have enough homes for their vouchers. So there are people, and I had a tenant move into one of my places. They qualified for a 4-bedroom unit. They had been living in a 3-bedroom unit with multiple kids sharing rooms for years because there were no 4-bedroom units available. So once I opened mine up, they were able to move in. If you don't have landlords putting those units into the program, they're not there. It's not like the government is building housing. Even Biden's new plan to say, here's all of this money we're setting aside to turn office space and retail space into housing isn't going to happen unless you have investors to convert it and landlords to run it. So, open format. What's the solution if it isn't landlords?
And I've yet to have the answer to that question too. And the only thing that I hear is, oh, more apartments. more government housing, more affordable housing. That's just more. It's like, well, where's this more going to come from? After the eviction moratorium that we had, people got out. I would go to my Memphis investor group meeting, and I had the older guys were like, we're done with this. We can see the writing on the wall and where this is all going, and we're selling. They don't want to deal with some of these, issues and, having more tenant rights. Now we're in Memphis. We are in Memphis. We're in Tennessee, which is a landlord friendly state, but it's becoming, more and more blue. We're getting more and more, tenant friendly rules and more tenant rights and things like that. And that just discourages people from buying houses, fixing them up, making neighborhoods better, and providing a quality place for people to live who otherwise can't afford to save a big down payment and put on their own. I mean, we buy houses that need work. We all know you can't really buy a 100% rent ready place and rent it out and make money. And we, shouldn't, for the most part, especially experienced investors, should be buying properties that need work. And that's where the money is to be made. So houses that need, 30 to 50,000, like you're saying, in rehab, who's buying those? And if there's no landlords and no real estate investors to buy these properties, they're just going to sit there, right? Who else is going to buy them? We're going to have now the government's going to start buying more housing and fixing it up. I mean, we all see how post office and stuff works, and the DMV. Do we want them now buying and fixing up housing? I mean, it's just all screwed up. And landlords, there's fewer and fewer of them, fewer and fewer mom and pops out there, more and more big conglomerates. And I've had several. So we rented one of our houses out lately, and I've had several people. I guess several. Okay, I had 3 people, which is quite a few. 3 people, potential tenants, call and tell me that they were looking for an individual owner. They did not want to be in a property management, a big corporate, huge, managing thousands of units, because those property management companies, which, those big conglomerates put them in them, the properties in those big property management companies, they don't take as good a care as homeowners, as landlords do. I mean, that's just a fact. I've been in 1,000 or so houses, and I can tell the ones that are owned locally by mom and pops and they take care of their own properties versus ones that are just a number, their number 460 in their 10,000 that they own, and their quality and the care is just subpar. So, okay, everybody, you want less landlords, less mom and pops out there, less small business owners, buying properties. Who's going to take care of these houses for you if they don't do it? So it doesn't make sense if you think things through. I want someone to take care of my property if I'm renting it. I would absolutely freaking love, and if I ever moved here and we rented somewhere, it would be from an individual owner. I wouldn't want to, you know what I mean? I know I'm talking a lot, but it really gets me because I get a lot of these comments all the time on how landlords are a scum of the earth. And I'm like, well, who do you rent? Like, you obviously rent if you're saying that. And who are you renting from? Like, where is your housing coming from? If you don't like us so much, go buy your own house. But some of them can't buy their own house. And I know that. And a lot of the affordable rental properties are in areas that are more lower income. And I tell you, like, we freaking fix up the neighborhoods by fixing the houses up, making them nice, doing upgrades that other people can't afford. And there's a mosquito in here, and it's making the neighborhoods much better and increasing home values in the city.
Well, you make a really good point, and I heard you talking about this with Anna Kelly, the REI mom, where you were talking about the landlord who self-manages their properties generally takes better care of it than the property management company that has the owner that's trying to save costs. And so I think that's a great point. 2 things I want to wrap up with here is the first one. I have a YouTube channel where I teach people how to get into small multifamily and to make work optional in 10 years. I share it with everybody. I put it on social media. I'm not secret. I'm not private about it. People are shocked when they meet me and they find out I'm actually an introvert. So I'm talking to a camera and not out in the real world. But I share with all of my tenants when I meet them. I have a YouTube channel. I teach people how to own a duplex like this instead of rent it the way that you do. I just placed a tenant into my 4-plex. I had an Air Force person, got orders, moved away, put a new tenant in. Signing the lease, I said, I'm happy to have you as a tenant. You meet all of my criteria. I take care of the place. You can see I just rehabbed everything in here. but I would really like it if you would let me help you buy a property. You don't have to rent. I've had this conversation with every tenant I've ever moved into one of my properties or properties that I purchased where there was a tenant living there. So I've been doing this for over a decade, sharing how I reached financial freedom. One tenant ever in that decade purchased a house. I introduced him to my agent, introduced him to the lenders, didn't even go in house hack like I suggested. He actually bought a single family house. The other tenants, with the resource of somebody saying, here's the first time buyer programs where you can put a few $1,000s into owning your own place and not have to pay rent. Live for free if you house hack. So right now I retired last year with 16 rental units. That's 16 tenants over the last decade where one of them ever bought a house that continue to rent. If there wasn't a landlord with a rental unit on the market, where would they live? And when we think government provided housing, you make a good point with the DMV and the post office. People should go visit tenement housing. Go to that place in your city where the cops can't go unless they're not alone. And tell me if that's where you want to live.
We have those in Memphis.
Right, same thing. Yeah, there are some places, there are some bad apples in the landlord sphere, but there's bad apples in everything. And I'll wrap up with the last thing for the people who hate capitalists and you want to attack me. And this is not a real story, but if you're talking to the socialist and you say, if you have 2 houses, would you give me one? Of course I would. Okay. If you had 2 cars, would you give me one? Of course I would. If you had 2 bicycles, would you give me one? Nope. Why not? Well, because I have 2 bicycles. The equality stops when it impacts your wallet. Every single person that hates landlords has the same opportunity to go buy the properties, rehab the properties, keep rents below area average to make tenants happy and provide housing for someone else. Or you could stay there on Reddit and be a keyboard coward and keep attacking the people that are actually doing the work and providing housing for people.
I love that. Thanks for that amazing ending. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, Dion. Where can people find you?
Right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, where I do live streams every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, and I answer all questions.
Awesome. And you guys can find me on Instagram at Brick by Brick Wealth, and you might want to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's going to be starting up again real soon. Thank you guys very much.
Ciao.